And thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, J Street, again for convening us. Just to reiterate, I'm Elisheva Goldberg. I'm the Director of Media and Policy for the New Israel Fund. And I want to talk really honestly and directly about what we're seeing on the ground and what the New Israel Fund is doing in response. But before I do, some of you know that I myself have been an activist for a long time. And most of that was direct activism in the South Hebron Hills in villages like Omacher, Susia, and Tuane. And the murder of Auda Hathalin this week, some of our speakers have already mentioned, Margot just did, was a very, very dear friend of mine. Um, he, I could speak about him for my entire time here, but he was a nonviolent activist who was killed by a settler who walked into his village with a loaded gun. This man, as Hadar also mentioned, Yinon Levy had been sanctioned by the US administration and others until he was unsanctioned by Trump. Auda was just trying to protect his village, and his death really speaks directly to the cost of the violence that has been ongoing in the West Bank for so many years. So may Auda rest in peace. Let me talk just a little bit more about the West Bank also. We're really seeing, as Margot also mentioned, a campaign of expulsion for Palestinians in Area C like we've never seen before. Violent settlers are emboldened and far too often supported by the state, by the current Israeli government, and they're entering villages with loaded weapons, walking onto or into people's homes like they own them. And of course, at NIF, we are all about action. So we're not just bearing witness and telling you about it. We are doing what we call building and blocking. We're supporting protective presence teams that live alongside these communities, doing everything we can to slow down the demolitions and settler attacks by making sure that people are there and that the world sees what's happening. I myself have been a part of those activist communities, and I know that they really work. And of course, in addition to blocking this, we are also investing in what comes next and building infrastructure, programs, women-led organizing, and the building blocks for a more democratic and equal future. Because we know, as so many, again, have already said before me, that the occupation and what's going on in Gaza are not just a moral failure, they're also a political dead end. We're not giving up on the alternative, and we know that the future must be rooted in justice, in dignity, and equality for everybody who lives between the river and the sea. And so that brings me to Gaza. Obviously, what's happening there is catastrophic. So much already on this call has been said, and comparing it to the moments in the liturgy and in our traditions from Tisha B'Av, but it is so profoundly catastrophic. The mass displacement, the starvation, the disease, the complete destruction of hospitals, universities, and neighborhoods. As people who believe in human rights, it is really difficult to know what to do and how to help. And that is why at the New Israel Fund, we launched a Gaza emergency response campaign. We actually launched this back in Passover of 2024, but it's been growing and growing. And we're directing funding towards humanitarian organizations that are actually getting aid to people who are in desperate need. They're not abstract lives. They're families, kids, parents, and students, people who have dreams and who should have rights. And even when our hands feel tied by politics, our values remain clear. We are always going to insist on life. We are always going to insist on hope. And we are always going to insist on human rights. And the money that we're raising is going to World Central Kitchen and Clean Shelter. And we've raised close to $3 million so far. And this week, even just this week, we're seeing a major influx of resources because World Central Kitchen has said again in an op-ed in the New York Times and on their Instagram page that they're back to serving hot meals and they're really trying to scale up. And in addition to serving starving people, they're also helping people get protected from the increasingly brutal and violent experience of going to try and get food from either the airdrops or the relief centers that have turned into death traps. So that is where we are in Gaza. And I will just say that at the same time, so this is like, simultaneous crisis upon crisis, we are continuing to fight for the things that NIF, the New Israel Fund, was built for. We are fighting for a robust civil society that protects everybody's rights to free speech, to protest, to live without fear. Civil society is right now arguably the strongest pillar of Israel's democracy at a time when so many other pillars, the courts, the standing of the attorney general, even the police force, are being undermined by the government and their independence pulled out from under them. So some of you may have heard of the Civil Society Protection Hub, which is an NIF initiative that's become more essential every day. As the government cracks down on dissent in Israel, it smears human rights organizations, clashes outright with the judiciary, we are making sure that our grantees have legal defense, rapid response strategies, and international solidarity from the get-go. And it's not theoretical because threats to civil society, which is an independent power center standing up to the government, are very, very real. But our people, just like everybody on this call, we keep working. Our people are protesting on the ground in growing numbers to end the war, to stop the starvation in Gaza, and to free every single one of the hostages. And they're insisting that the future can be better than the past and certainly can be better than the present. And they're saying loudly and clearly that the way forward will not be around, but through our differences as Jews and Palestinians working together. Israeli civil society doesn't have the option of walking away from the fights that they have ahead, and we will not let them stand alone. We know that this is hard work. It doesn't lend itself to easy headlines or instant victories, but this is what it means to be working for a better future in Israel today, to protect life in Gaza, to defend civil society in Israel, and resist the machinery of annexation in the West Bank. NIF has never looked away, and with so many of you at J Street as our trusted partner and our supporters, we never, ever will. Thank you.